Wrong Turn 6. Last Resort is a 2014 horror film directed by Valery Milev. The film follows the story of Danny, Anthony Olot, a troubled young man who inherits a remote resort from his unknown biological father. Danny, along with his friends, decide to visit the resort to check it out and have some fun. But soon they realize that there is something sinister lurking in the woods. The movie begins with a prologue that shows a woman being brutally murdered by a group of cannibals in the woods. The scene then shifts to Danny, who is working in a restaurant and struggling to make ends meet. He receives a letter informing him that he has inherited a resort from his biological father, who he never knew existed. Danny decides to take a trip to the resort to check it out and see what he has inherited. He invites his girlfriend, Tony, Aquila Zoll, and his friends, Brian, Chris Jarvis, Vic, Rollo Skinner, Rod, Billy Ashworth, and Charlie, Joe Gamanara, to join him on the trip. When they arrive at the resort, they are greeted by Sally, Sadie Katz, the caretaker of the property. She informs them that the resort has been closed for years and that it needs a lot of work. Despite the rundown condition of the resort, the group decides to stay and have some fun. As they explore the resort, they discover a secret room that contains old family photos and a letter from Danny's biological father. The letter reveals that Danny's family has a history of inbreeding and that he is the last surviving member of the family. The letter also warns Danny that he must continue the family bloodline by having children with his own sister, whom he never knew existed. As the group tries to process this shocking revelation, they start to notice strange things happening around the resort. They hear strange noises and see shadows moving in the woods. They soon realize that they are being stalked by a group of cannibals who live in the woods. The cannibals are the last surviving members of Danny's family, and they are determined to keep the family bloodline alive. They begin to pick off the group one by one, using various traps and weapons. As the survivors try to fight back and escape, they discover that the cannibals have been using the resort as a hunting ground for years. They find the remains of previous victims and realize that they are not the first to fall victim to the cannibals' sadistic games. Danny and Tony manage to survive the attack and eventually discover the truth about Danny's family. They decide to burn down the resort and put an end to the cannibals' reign of terror. Wrong Turn 6 is a gory and brutal horror film that is not for the faint of heart. It continues the tradition of the franchise by featuring a group of unsuspecting victims who are hunted down by a group of sadistic cannibals. The movie explores themes of family, inheritance, and the consequences of inbreeding. It also delves into the concept of survival and the lengths that people will go to in order to protect themselves and their loved ones. One of the strengths of the film is its use of practical effects and makeup. The cannibals are shown to be grotesque and terrifying, with twisted features and disfigured bodies. The use of practical effects adds to the realism of the film and makes the violence and gore even more disturbing. Overall, Wrong Turn 6 is a solid entry in the franchise that delivers on the expectations of horror fans. It is a brutal and intense film that is sure to satisfy those who enjoy this genre.